Okay, let's jump right into this. The material we're looking at today asks a really fundamental question about how we experience our own lives. I mean, think about it. We're surrounded by gifts all the time. Nature, our talents, our very existence. But how we relate to all that stuff, well, that pretty much determines everything. So let's just put the question right out there. In this whole journey of life, which role are you playing? Are you a cherished guest, someone who feels welcomed and valued? Or are you a miserable beggar, always feeling like something's missing, like you don't have enough? This whole explainer is really about digging into that question and finding an answer. So where does that beggar feeling even come from? According to the source, it all boils down to one powerful, profound illusion: the idea that we actually own anything at all. It's that voice of the ego, the one that insists that everything we have and everything we are belongs to us and only us. And this quote just completely flips the script on how we see ourselves. That thing you're proud of, your intelligence, your artistic skill, your good looks, the idea here is that it's not actually something you possess. It's more like a temporary reflection, a gift that's just passing through you. To claim it as your own is like a shadow claiming it's the source of the light. Kind of absurd when you think about it that way, right? This thinking leads us down two paths, and both are dead ends. On one side, you have the ego, which basically shouts, "I did it all, I created the mountains." And on the other, you've got total dependency, which whispers, "I'm nothing, the mountains created me." But here's the kicker. The source argues that both of these mindsets lead to the exact same place, feeling valueless and at the end of the day, pretty miserable. So if both of those perspectives are a wash, what's the alternative? This is where our source introduces a really powerful analogy that helps reframe everything. It asks us to stop seeing our lives as our own personal kingdom, and instead to picture it as a kind of warehouse. Okay, let's walk through this. Imagine you get a new job as a warehouse manager. Your whole gig is to receive valuable items for the company and log them properly. Now, would you ever just start diverting the best stuff to your own house? Of course not. That's called stealing, and you'd be fired in a heartbeat. And why is that? Because you understand your role. You're a trustee, a caretaker. You're managing these things for the owner. You aren't the owner yourself. And that brings us to the key concept here, entrustment. This is a huge mental shift. It's moving from saying, "This is mine," to saying, "This is in my care." Your talents, your health, your relationships, all your opportunities, they're all just valuable goods in the warehouse of your life, things that have been held in trust to you. So that's a cool idea, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's dive into how seeing yourself as a trustee can fundamentally change how you see everything and your place in it. All right, here's a little thought experiment. I want you to think of something you created, something you're genuinely proud of. Got it? Okay, now let's break it down. How much of that was truly 100% you, and you alone? How much of it came from us, your culture, your teachers, all the collective human knowledge that came before you? And then, as the source puts it, how much comes from him, which it describes as the ultimate source of all creativity? It's a really humbling question when you sit with it. And that little exercise perfectly illustrates this next idea. See, that feeling of "I did this" isn't totally wrong, but it is incomplete. It's more like a signpost. The pride we feel in our own work is like a tiny, relative reflection of a much bigger, absolute source of that creation. Our role, then, isn't to be the source itself, but to be the sign that points to it. Okay, so if we start to live with this trusty mindset, what happens? What kind of person does that make us? Well, the source suggests it builds a lot of great character traits, but there is one quality that rises above all the rest. It's the absolute key to making that transformation from a beggar to the cherished guest we talked about in the beginning. So our source lays out three important qualities. You've got virtue, which is about being a good person, and you've got proficiency, being really skilled at what you do. Both are super valuable, no doubt. But look at that third one, trustworthiness. And it's defined as being reliable with what's been entrusted to you. This isn't just another quality on a list. It's the very foundation of this whole way of thinking. And here's where it all clicks into place. A trustworthy person doesn't just manage the warehouse well, they fundamentally get it. They understand their role, they keep the trust safe, they use it for its intended purpose, and they never, ever confuse being the caretaker with being the owner. And that is the quality that makes someone a cherished guest in life. So we end up right back where we started, but now with a totally new lens. If your life, your talents, your very self, if none of it is a possession to be owned, but is instead a profound trust to be cared for, what changes for you? What do you now start to cherish in a completely different and maybe more meaningful way?